The fastest American cars of the 1980s were not all V8 muscle cars. Some had 4 cylinders, front-wheel drive, or badges nobody remembers. These 7 machines show how Detroit quietly learned to be fast again. The lost decade, the 1980s, are often treated as a waiting room between 2 better eras. The original muscle cars were gone. The modern horsepower war had not yet begun. Engines had vacuum hoses, early computers, low compression, and enough emissions equipment to make opening the hood feel like inspecting a telephone exchange. That version of the decade is not completely wrong. It is simply incomplete. American manufacturers were rebuilding performance under difficult rules. Fuel economy mattered, emissions mattered, insurance mattered, front-wheel drive was spreading, turbocharging, electronic fuel injection, aerodynamic design, 4-wheel disc brakes, and computer-controlled engines were becoming practical. The famous survivors are easy to remember: Mustang GT, Camaro IROC Z, Buick Grand National, Corvette, but behind them were stranger cars that tested ideas Detroit would use for the next 30 years. Some were expensive, some were badly marketed, some arrived one model year before the company finally understood what it had built, and one looked like an ordinary Pontiac coupe until the turbo decided otherwise. Number 7. The final AMX. In 1980, American Motors sold a compact rear-wheel drive hatchback called the Spirit AMX. The name carried serious history. The original 2-seat AMX of the late 1960s had been a short-wheelbase performance car with V8 power and genuine competition credibility. By 1980, the badge lived on a much more practical hatchback, wearing stripes, spoilers, wheel flares, and graphics large enough to compensate for the decade's reduced compression ratios. Yet the 1980 Spirit AMX had one important advantage. It could still be ordered with a 304 cubic inch V8 and a 4-speed manual transmission. The engine produced only about 125 horsepower in federal specification. That sounds less like a muscle car and more like an apology delivered through dual exhaust. But horsepower tells only part of the story. The 304 produced useful low-speed torque. The Spirit was smaller and lighter than most traditional muscle cars. Rear-wheel drive and a manual gearbox gave the driver direct control. Optional performance equipment included handling upgrades, larger tires, and limited slip gearing. The result was not fast by 1969 standards. It was entertaining by 1980 standards, which required a more generous scale and perhaps a downhill section. The Spirit AMX also had real motorsport credibility. AMC campaigned Spirits in endurance racing, and a specially prepared Spirit AMX team achieved a class victory at the Nürburgring in 1979. That did not make the showroom car a German circuit weapon, but it proved the basic platform could do more than carry discount furniture. The strange part is how quickly the V8 disappeared. The 1980 model year was the last time AMC offered a V8 in a passenger car. After that, the Spirit AMX continued briefly with 6-cylinder power before the model vanished. This makes the 1980 version more than a striped economy hatchback. It was the final V8-powered AMC performance car, the last small rear-drive machine from the company that had built the Javelin, Rebel Machine, SC Rambler, and original AMX. Collectors remember the earlier cars. The Spirit is often left standing beside them, like the relative who arrived after the family photograph. It deserves better. Not because it was brutally fast, because it kept the old formula alive for one final year when almost everyone else had already begun replacing cubic inches with electronics. Number 6. The finished Fiero. The Pontiac Fiero became famous for all the wrong reasons. Early cars were slow. Some suffered engine fires. The chassis used components adapted from ordinary economy cars. The steering was heavy. The suspension could feel less like a sports car and more like several unrelated parts meeting for the first time. Then Pontiac fixed most of it and immediately cancelled the car. The 1988 Fiero Formula may be the most overlooked version of America's first mass-produced mid-engine car. Pontiac gave the final year Fiero a completely redesigned suspension. New front control arms and knuckles improved steering geometry. A new tri-link rear layout controlled wheel movement more accurately. Vented disc brakes appeared at all four corners. The chassis finally behaved like the car's shape had promised since 1984. 8-liter V6, 5-speed manual transmission, rear spoiler, and performance suspension package. The V6 produced 135 horsepower and 160 pound-feet of torque. Again, not enormous, but the Fiero weighed under 2,800 pounds, placed the engine behind the seats, and sent power to the rear wheels. 0 to 60 took roughly 8 seconds, depending on the test and transmission. More important, the 1988 car turned, stopped, and communicated better than earlier Fieros. It was the version engineers had wanted to build from the beginning. Pontiac also offered the Fastback GT, which looked more exotic and carried more visual drama. The formula was subtler. It resembled the basic coupe. Only the spoiler, wheels, dual exhaust, and small badges suggested that this was the good one. That subtlety helped make it a sleeper, but it also helped people forget it. The Fiero's reputation had already been damaged, sales had fallen. General Motors did not want to fund another development cycle. Production ended in August 1988. The timing was almost cruel. Pontiac spent 4 years teaching the public that the Fiero was compromised, then produced the corrected version for 1 year and removed it before the lesson could change. Today, the 1988 formula shows how dangerous a bad first impression can be. A sports car may improve dramatically. The joke usually keeps the original specifications. Number 5. Shelby's rental car. The 1986 Dodge Shelby GLHS looked like an economy hatchback that had been threatened into joining a racing team. Its basic body came from the front-wheel drive Dodge Omni. The Omni was practical, square, inexpensive, and visually related to a household appliance that had developed 4 doors. Carroll Shelby saw potential. Dodge first sold the Omni GLH, whose initials officially meant "goes like hell." Shelby then bought finished cars from Dodge, modified them at his California facility, and created the GLHS. The final letter meant "goes like hell s'more." Subtle naming was apparently unavailable. 2-liter 4-cylinder engine producing 175 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. A 5-speed manual transmission sent power to the front wheels. That output sounds ordinary now. In 1986, inside a car weighing about 2,200 pounds, it was serious. Period tests placed 0 to 60 near the mid-6 second range. The quarter mile arrived in roughly 15 seconds. Those numbers allowed the little Dodge to embarrass heavier V8 cars. Shelby also fitted stiffer springs, coney dampers, larger wheels, performance tires, improved brakes, and quicker steering. Only 500 examples were built. Every car was black with silver graphics and numbered identification on the dashboard. The GLHS was not polished. Turbo lag was noticeable. Torque steer could pull the steering wheel under hard acceleration. The interior remained closely related to an economy car. Wind noise, plastics, and refinement had not been invited to the Shelby facility, but the car was direct, light, and genuinely quick. It proved that American performance no longer required a large engine or rear-wheel drive. That lesson was uncomfortable for traditional enthusiasts. A turbocharged front-drive hatchback did not look like a muscle car. It sounded different, behaved differently, and came from the same company selling K cars to sensible households. Yet on the road, the badge mattered less than the boost gauge. The GLHS became one of the earliest American hot hatchbacks with enough performance to challenge established sports cars. It also became easy to lose. Many were driven hard, modified, crashed, rusted, or mechanically neglected. Specialized Shelby parts became difficult to replace. The Omni body never received the collector protection given to Cobras or classic Mustangs. The car looked disposable. Owners often treated it that way. Survivors now reveal how wild the package actually was. A numbered Shelby automobile with coney suspension, intercooler, 5-speed, and enough boost to annoy a Corvette owner. all wrapped in a body designed to carry groceries without emotional involvement. Number 4. The executive missile. The 1987 Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe was not meant to look brutal. It was a large personal luxury coupe with a long hood, comfortable seats, automatic climate control, electronic instruments, and enough sound insulation to make speed feel professionally managed. 3-liter 4-cylinder engine. Yes, 4 cylinders in a Thunderbird. Ford had spent decades teaching buyers that a Thunderbird deserved a V8. Then the company installed half the expected cylinder count and made it the performance model. For 1987, the Turbo Coupe received a major update. The engine gained an intercooler and produced 190 horsepower with the 5-speed manual transmission. Cars with the automatic received slightly less power. Ford also added 4-wheel disc brakes, anti-lock braking, adjustable electronic suspension, a limited slip differential, and aerodynamic bodywork. The suspension allowed the driver to choose between softer automatic control and a firmer setting. The system also stiffened during hard braking or aggressive driving. This was advanced equipment in an American coupe costing far less than many European Grand Tourers. The Turbo Coupe could reach 60 miles per hour in the low 7-second range and continue beyond 140 miles per hour under favorable conditions. Its speed was not dramatic in the usual V8 sense. The engine built boost, the nose remained calm, and the car gathered pace with a distant turbine sound. The long wheelbase and composed chassis made high-speed travel feel secure. Motor Trend named it Car of the Year for 1987. Then history largely forgot it. Part of the reason is the Mustang. 0-liter Mustang GT was louder, simpler, cheaper, and easier to modify. It had the V8 sound enthusiasts wanted and became one of the defining performance cars of the decade. The Thunderbird appealed to a different buyer, someone who wanted speed, technology, comfort, and perhaps a tie that remained straight during acceleration. The Turbo Coupe also suffered from complexity. Turbo systems, electronic suspension components, anti-lock hardware, and model-specific trim became expensive as the cars aged. Used values dropped. Many examples were neglected. The model disappeared after 1988 when Ford introduced a new Thunderbird platform. The later Super Coupe used a supercharged V6 and received more attention, but the Turbo Coupe had already demonstrated the formula. Small boosted engine, serious chassis equipment, aerodynamic body, luxury car refinement. It was an American performance car designed by engineers rather than a graphics department. That may be why fewer people remember it. Number 3. McLaren's Pontiac. In 1989, Pontiac sold a front-wheel drive Grand Prix developed with ASC McLaren. This was not the British Formula One company that built the later McLaren F1 road car. ASC and McLaren was an American specialty operation connected to American Sunroof Corporation and engineer Peter Muscat. The name still looked excellent on a dealership sticker. The Turbo Grand Prix began as Pontiac's new front-wheel drive coupe. Standard versions used naturally aspirated V6 engines and offered styling that was modern, smooth, and slightly anonymous. ASC McLaren changed the body with wider fender flares, functional hood vents, deeper lower trim, unique wheels, and a more aggressive stance. 1-liter V6 producing 205 horsepower and 220 pound-feet of torque. A 4-speed automatic sent everything through the front wheels. The car also received improved suspension tuning, larger brakes, and special Goodyear tires. Inside were deeply bolstered seats, a digital dashboard, steering wheel controls, and enough buttons to suggest the owner had been hired by NASA but assigned to commuting. The Turbo Grand Prix could reach 60 in roughly 7 seconds and offered strong highway passing power. Its turbocharged torque arrived early, making the car feel quicker than the numbers suggested, but it carried several problems. The front tires had to steer, accelerate, and manage more than 200 horsepower without modern electronic traction control. Torque steer existed. The automatic transmission reduced involvement. The car was expensive, complex, and difficult to explain. Was it a luxury coupe? A performance car? A high-technology flagship? A Pontiac wearing McLaren lettering because the brochure needed stronger coffee? It was all of them. Only 749 Turbo Grand Prix coupes were produced for 1989, followed by 3,749 for 1990, according to commonly cited production records. The model then disappeared. That short life makes it one of the rarest and least remembered Pontiac performance cars of the era. Its importance is larger than its reputation. The Turbo Grand Prix previewed the modern American performance sedan and coupe. Front-wheel drive, turbocharged V6 power, special bodywork, electronic interior, factory partnership with an outside engineering company. Decades later, similar ingredients would appear across high-performance family cars. In 1989, the idea was too new and the name was too long. Pontiac Grand Prix Turbo ASC McLaren sounds less like a model and more like everyone who attended the meeting. Number 2. The four-cylinder Mustang. The Mustang SVO was Ford's attempt to build a sophisticated American performance car without relying on the traditional V8 formula. SVO stood for Special Vehicle Operations, Ford's internal performance group established to improve racing programs and create serious road cars. 3-liter 4-cylinder engine, 5-speed manual transmission, 4-wheel disc brakes, adjustable Coney dampers, quicker steering, and a unique aerodynamic front end. It also wore an offset hood scoop feeding the intercooler, distinctive wheels, a dual-plane rear spoiler, and a steering wheel with thick padding in all the places a driver might need confidence. Early cars produced 175 horsepower. 5 and 1986 versions reached 205 horsepower with improved turbocharging, engine management, and intercooling. That output matched or exceeded the contemporary Mustang GT while using half the cylinders. The SVO also carried less weight over the front axle. It turned more willingly, stopped better, and felt more balanced than the V8 car. On a road course, the expensive 4-cylinder Mustang could be the better machine. That sentence caused trouble. 0-liter V8. The V8 sounded better, produced instant torque, cost less, and responded easily to modifications. The SVO required premium fuel, proper maintenance, and patience while the turbocharger built boost. Its engine sounded busy rather than heroic. The car also cost significantly more than a Mustang GT. In 1984, the SVO's base price was above $15,000, placing it near the Chevrolet Corvette and imported sports cars. The GT cost thousands less. Ford was asking enthusiasts to pay extra for fewer cylinders because the chassis and engineering were more advanced. Enthusiasts responded by buying the cheaper V8 and spending the difference on rear tires. SVO production remained low. Ford built fewer than 10,000 examples across 1984 through 1986. Zero Mustang cleaner, stronger, and easier to live with. The SVO looked like a failed experiment. Then the rest of the industry copied its philosophy. Turbocharged small engines became normal. 4-wheel disc brakes became expected. Adjustable dampers, intercooling, aerodynamic development, and factory performance divisions became central to modern enthusiast cars. 3-liter 4-cylinder. The SVO was not wrong. It was simply asking 1980s Mustang buyers to emotionally skip ahead 30 years. Number 1. The fastest Trans Am. The 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am looked like another white third-generation Firebird with gold wheels. It was built to celebrate the Trans Am's 20th anniversary and to serve as the pace car for the Indianapolis 500. Under the hood was not a Pontiac V8, 8-liter Buick V6 related to the engine used in the Grand National and GNX. Pontiac installed the engine with different cylinder heads and packaging changes to fit the Firebird's lower hood line. The engine was officially rated at 250 horsepower and 340 pound-feet of torque. Those figures were conservative. Period testing showed the Turbo Trans Am could accelerate from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds and run the quarter mile in the low 13-second range under ideal conditions. That made it one of the quickest American production cars of the decade. In some tests, it outran the contemporary Corvette. This created a delicate internal situation at General Motors. The Corvette was supposed to be the company's performance flagship. The Trans Am was supposed to remain below it. The turbo Buick engine had apparently not read the organizational chart. The car used a 4-speed automatic transmission, rear-wheel drive, 4-wheel disc brakes, a limited slip differential, and the Firebird's WS6 performance suspension. Every production example was white with tan leather and gold cross-lace wheels, creating a clean anniversary appearance that concealed the violence available through the accelerator pedal. Pontiac built 1,555 examples, including pace cars and festival cars. That is rare, but not impossibly rare. The reason this car belongs at number 1 is not scarcity alone. It represented the complete transformation of American performance. The old formula used a large, naturally aspirated V8, rear-wheel drive, and simple mechanical strength. The turbo Trans Am used a smaller turbocharged V6, electronic fuel injection, intercooling, computer control, careful aerodynamics, and automatic transmission calibration. It produced speed through airflow and intelligence rather than displacement alone. The car also demonstrated how much potential General Motors had hidden inside the Buick Turbo program. The engine delivered enormous torque at ordinary road speed. The automatic kept the turbo on boost. The aerodynamic Firebird body reduced drag. The chassis handled the power better than the Buick's older platform. The combination was devastating and temporary. The turbo engine disappeared from the Firebird after 1 year. Pontiac returned to V8 power. The turbo Trans Am became an anniversary footnote rather than the start of a new family. Collectors know the car today, but it remains less famous than the GNX whose engine made it possible. That is strange because the Pontiac was lighter, sleeker, and in some conditions even quicker. It may be the best American performance car of the 1980s that many people still identify only as the white Trans Am with funny badges. The Turbo Lesson. These 7 cars tell the real story of American performance in the 1980s. It was not dead, it was experimenting. AMC kept a V8 alive in a compact hatchback for 1 final year. Pontiac repaired the Fiero just as the company ended it. Shelby proved a front-wheel drive economy car could humiliate heavier machines. Ford built a turbocharged Thunderbird with anti-lock brakes and adjustable suspension. ASC, McLaren, turned a Pontiac luxury coupe into a boosted front-drive flagship. SVO gave the Mustang technology its buyers would not appreciate for decades. And Buick's Turbo V6 transformed the Trans Am into a Corvette-chasing missile. Not every experiment succeeded. Turbo lag was real. Early electronics could be temperamental. Replacement parts became difficult to find. Front-wheel drive cars fought torque steer. Performance numbers changed depending on weather, fuel quality, and whether the engine control system had awakened in a cooperative mood. But those problems are part of the achievement. Detroit was learning a new language while selling the lesson to customers. The 1960s had made speed through cubic inches. The 1980s had to make speed through efficiency. That required turbochargers, fuel injection, computer control, aerodynamics, weight reduction, better tires, better brakes, and more sophisticated suspension. By the end of the decade, American cars were genuinely fast again. They simply did not all sound like 1969. Collector problem. Buying one of these cars today requires a different mindset from buying an older carbureted muscle car. Mechanical simplicity varies. The Spirit AMX uses familiar AMC hardware, but trim and model-specific parts are scarce. The 1988 Fiero has unique suspension and brake components found only in that final model year. The GLHS requires knowledge of early Chrysler turbo systems and Shelby-specific pieces. The Thunderbird adds electronic suspension and turbo plumbing to a large coupe filled with aging accessories. The Turbo Grand Prix combines limited production body parts with a rare engine package. The Mustang SVO has specialized turbo hardware, body panels, wheels, interior parts, and suspension components. The Turbo Trans Am shares some Buick turbo knowledge, but uses unique installation details and valuable anniversary trim. The cheapest example is often the most expensive education. A complete, documented, unmodified car usually deserves a premium. These vehicles were easy to modify when they were cheap, and many received larger turbochargers, homemade wiring, aggressive boost settings, stereo installations, or body kits applied during moments of insufficient supervision. Originality matters because replacement pieces may not exist. Condition matters because restoration costs can exceed market value, and documentation matters because several of these cars look dangerously similar to ordinary models. A real performance package can be hidden beneath faded paint and incorrect wheels. A fake one can be created with badges and confidence. The honest verdict: were these the 7 greatest American performance cars of the 1980s? No. The Corvette, Grand National, Mustang GT, Camaro IROC, and several others earned their fame. These 7 are important for a different reason. They show the path Detroit tried but did not fully follow. The Spirit AMX was the final echo of old AMC muscle. The Fiero Formula was a corrected sports car without enough time. The Shelby GLHS was an American hot hatch before America trusted hot hatches. The Thunderbird Turbo Coupe was a technological Grand Tourer hidden behind a formal name. The Turbo Grand Prix was a modern performance coupe before buyers knew what category it belonged to. The Mustang SVO predicted the future and lost to the past. The Turbo Trans Am combined the decade's best turbo engine with its best aerodynamic pony car body, then vanished after 1 model year. That is why the 1980s deserve more respect. The decade did not simply wait for horsepower to return. It invented the tools that brought horsepower back. Which forgotten American performance car deserves a comeback? Choose one in the comments. And no, adding an SVO badge to an ordinary 4-cylinder Mustang does not count as preservation.